Hello and welcome to IndiTalk. This is a show in which we ruminate on controversial issues of national importance. And today's subject is going to be about the Supreme Court of India. Now, it is my belief and has always been that the judicial system in India is the ultimate safeguard of all individual liberties as well as our constitution. And we mess with it only at our own peril. The last time someone tried to mess with the Supreme Court was Mrs. Gandhi, when 3 justices were superseded by Justice A.N. Ray, but they proved their mettle by resigning and actually taking on executive authority. Now, I am not for 1 minute suggesting that the courts challenge executive authority just, for the sake of challenging it. But they must certainly put their feet down, their collective foot down, when there seems to be a challenge to the rule of law and the functioning of this great body that gave us wonderful decisions, such as the Keshav Nand Bharti case, which laid down the ultimate protection for the basic fundamental structure of our constitution. Now, recently all this has come into, shall I say, opprobrium or a little distrust in the public mind, since the 4 judges went public at a press conference criticizing the Chief Justice and actually questioning the way the roster system is handled. Now, it showed that there is something amiss in our judiciary. And people who would like to see the judiciary, especially the higher judiciary, the Supreme Court, see it destabilized so that executive interference can somehow or the other way make its way into this independent institution, would love to see that. I am not for a minute saying that the 4 justices did not raise questions that were pertinent to the country, to its people, and to our constitution. Perhaps they may have done it another way. Certainly, the issues they raise need to be tackled. And no sooner had that happened when another strange case has erupted in the Supreme Court. It's called bench versus bench versus bench. Now, what happened here was that a 3-judge bench headed by Justice Madan Lokur, a very highly respected judge, overturned the judgment, a very recent judgment regarding land acquisition, specifically Section 24, of another 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court headed by Justice Arun Mishra, who had held a previous judgment on the land acquisition case in curiam, which means decided without real application of mind. That judgment was also headed by, the court was headed by Justice Lodha at the time, and Justice Lokur was also part of that bench. Now, what happened when Justice Arun Mishra's judgment was overruled by the Justice Madan Lokur bench? But Justice Lokur's bench, in fact, went further and ordered all high courts in the country, as well as all other Supreme Court benches in the country, not to handle this case at all, because they held that the judgment of the previous 3-judge bench was wrong. Now, what should have been? What should have been the solution here? Well, as quietly pointed out by some people, that there have been solutions. Judges do differ with judges. All kinds of differing opinions are given. Dissenting opinions are written. And ultimately, if 2-3 judge benches disagree, the matter has to be referred ultimately to the Supreme Court. Or, a much larger bench, perhaps headed by the Chief Justice, who is supposed to be the master of the roster. So that's where it's headed now. It's headed to a larger bench, perhaps where it should have headed in the first place. Now, this is an internal wrangle, but what it does is it makes it much easier for outsiders, especially from the executive branch, who would like to see the Supreme Court fighting within itself, who would see internecine warfare destroy our judicial system, take advantage of these so-called these petty battles, or they're actually larger than petty battles within this great institution. My real worry is for preserving the integrity of the institution. Even if the judges speak in different voices, they must let the nation know that the one voice that unites them all is ultimately the independence of the Indian judiciary and the fact that no outside influence must be able to interfere with it. That's all for IndiTalk for today. We'll be back again with more controversial issues. Until then, catch us.